MamaMax is a predator hunting YouTube channel who is most well known for creating massive awareness campaigns against YouTube whenever he receives a community guideline strike, using hashtags such as Pick a Side YouTube and Answer Us PedoTube. But his newest awareness campaign isn't against YouTube this time, but rather against an alleged pedophile vampire cult leader called Camden Gerard Davis. And this awareness campaign is the biggest one he's ever done, dedicating himself so much to it that he changed his channel name temporarily to GODCULT and privated all of his previous videos. But unfortunately, the videos that did stay up didn't really give enough information for people to fully understand what's going on with Camden Gerard Davis, but rather referred people to a podcast made by one of his alleged victims, Spencer, called the You Can't Hurt Me podcast. And in this 4-hour video, Spencer goes on to explain who Camden Gerard Davis is and all of the horrible things he's done. Here is some of that podcast.
Can you tell us a little about your life before you joined the cult?
So, as a child, I was more so raised by my great-grandparents. Great-grandmother died when I was 9. Moved in with my dad and my stepmom when I was like 11. And from there, I was just kind of tossed around, really. I was mentally ill, but nobody really realized it, and they didn't understand that I needed help. You know, it really made me feel unwanted in a lot of ways. And then finally, I moved back in with my dad and my stepmom, and things were pretty alright for a while. That summer, I had met a girl in summer school named Carrie Sutton. We kind of became friends and everything. Later on, after the new school year had started and after Christmas and everything, I started having some more, like, issues at home. I think my mental state just wasn't the best. And so Carrie introduced me to this guy that she had been talking to online. And his name was Quinn at the time. I don't even know, like, how he managed to manipulate us to believe the things he did half the time. But he told me that I was somehow a vampire, whatever, and that he was like this werewolf and like he knew God and all this shit. Like, I don't know. At the time, being 16, I believed him. And he just lured me further and further in. And when I started having more issues at home, it got into a fight with my entire family, and I just remember running out of the room and everything, and like they took my phone from me, but I had like an iPod hidden somewhere, and I still had Kik, so I was texting Quinn, and he was like, "Oh, your family's gonna have you arrested. You need to come out here. You'll be safe here. Nothing will happen to you if you come here." And I believed him and I trusted him, and I don't know why. But one morning, it was a Friday, I had gone down the stairs. Everybody was out on the front porch. I ran out through the garage around the back of the house and just booked it to Wiley East. When I got to Georgia, he had gotten an Uber. He came and picked me up, and then I lived in his mother's house after that.
Tell me more about Quinn.
Quinn was one of the aliases Camden was using.
Camden is?
Camden is the cult leader.
Okay. What was the cult?
It was basically a supernatural cult where he convinced all of us that we were vampires, werewolves, hybrids, celestials, and all this shit. Like, he would literally act like he was possessed by, like, the archangels and shit.
Okay.
And we believed him.
So you didn't think he was like role-playing. You thought he was actually... What made you think his stories were real?
He spoke with such conviction about them. Like, It seemed as though even he himself believed it. And maybe in a sense he does. But right off the bat, like, as soon as I got into his bedroom when I got there in person, he initiated sex and everything. And I felt like I kind of had to go along with it at that point. I was like, fuck, well, I'm here. And at that point, I somewhat had feelings for him because I was like, well, fuck, he helped me out of this shitty situation. You know, because I was a kid, I didn't realize what was happening. He always got, like, really sexual at times.
Of course.
Yeah. Ugh.
So...
I was like, I guess I can do this. It's whatever. Like, I was literally in my mind trying to make myself accept, okay, well, this is what's happening. Funny thing is I got pregnant from the Arkansas experience. And that was among one of the first times that Camden forced me to induce a miscarriage. Via shit ton of cinnamon, vitamin C, and him beating me in the stomach.
My God. And that worked?
Yes.
So it wasn't even stillbirth, you just...
Nope, it was just like within a month I had started having some symptoms and he was like, okay, well, you can't have the baby. You can't have that baby. And so, you know, that's what he did because he didn't want that evidence to be there. He had gotten me pregnant 3 other times within the span that I was able to see him in person. He kept doing the same thing to force me to miscarry. The last time was when I lived with my foster parents. Like, at the end of my physical stay with him, okay, so the whole reason that he was inducing the miscarriages was he wanted to traffic me and wanted my body to automatically start rejecting pregnancies. So he kept trying to get me to sleep with men off Whisper and everything, making posts about it, and eventually I was like, no, I'm not going to do that shit. Fuck no. And, you know, I had feelings for him at the time, and I was like, that's me cheating on you. I'm not okay with that. And, like, a few days after I gave him that firm no, he was like, Leviathans are coming after you. You've got to get out. Yeah.
So as you can tell, some pretty crazy stuff was going on with Camden Gerard Davis, allegedly. But unfortunately, most of MamaMax's audience wasn't aware of these details regarding Camden Gerard Davis because this podcast was uploaded to a separate channel, with Max only promoting it through his video that was supposed to launch this whole awareness campaign instead of in the video itself. That, alongside with him calling out other YouTubers to once again spread awareness, like he did with his previous anti-YouTube campaigns, caused the audience to not receive the video as well as Max was hoping, which caused him to make this video calling out Moist Critical and people talking about the Sniper Wolf doxing situation with Jack's Films, begging them to take his awareness campaign seriously.
My name is Max Stryker. I'm a filmmaker dedicated to empowering children. This is a call to action disguised as a cancellation. It is my hope that it will bring the maximum amount of eyes and ears to crucial issues in our society. Let this video be the example by which we as influencers can make digestible content for our audience while addressing much more important matters. Thank you. The actions of Camden Gerard Davis, his heinous crimes, the lives he's shattered, the trauma he's inflicted, these did not appear in our daily news feed, yet they are glaring examples of the darker aspects of humanity that we, as a society, often choose to ignore. The gravity of his actions The suffering of his victims should stir us to our core, prompting outrage, action, and a demand for justice. Yet such stories often receive a fraction of the attention granted to the latest internet scandal. The survivors who fell prey to Camden Gerard Davis were once impressionable and malleable minds, unknowingly ensnared by the beguiling algorithms of the internet that would lead them almost irretrievably into the clutches of exploitation. For 7 long years their pleas echoed into the void, muted cries for help that were met with an indifferent world, too hyper-focused on some ephemeral stimulation. We can set new standards for the kind of content that gets attention and shapes conversations. This shift in priorities from purely entertaining to meaningfully impactful work can pave the way for a more informed and action-oriented online community. It's an opportunity for influencers to use their platforms for something greater than just views and likes, to become agents of change in a world that desperately needs it. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Growing concerns that has been eclipsed by your usual online interactions.
Yeah, so needless to say, that video didn't work. It actually caused people to hate this awareness campaign even more, instead of just being confused, due to how aggressively he went after people not covering this, essentially implying that they don't care about the well-being of children because of it. So MamaMax decided to host a live stream to argue with his biggest critics of his latest awareness campaign, specifically a YouTuber called Lorex. Here is the argument they had on stream.
Specifically, I wanted to, talk to you, because my main, critique for you, is that in your most recent video where it was a direct call to action, calling out Moist Critical, it came across as, really manipulative, and that you were kind of, weaponizing your audience in a sense to then kind of get them to be forced to respond to you. Because just because you have 10 million subscribers or whatever, you don't have, an obligation, or there shouldn't be an expectation that you talk about the, real-world issues. But then you make a video adding him, getting your whole fan base involved, and you kind of know what you're doing. You're sending your audience to go and tell him, if you don't cover this, you don't care about these kids or these people who got taken advantage of. So how would you respond to that critique? How do you justify that, the way you went about it?
I did not mean for it to come off as if you don't respond, you don't care about kids. It was more so, this is an important issue. You are an important person who can save lives with literally one upload about it. This is my one shot at getting your attention. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what if I told you, right now, you're covering serious issues with your YouTube channel. But what if I told you, there's a bigger issue even going on, even than what you're covering with Israel and Palestine. So why aren't you making videos about that? I feel like you can always play this game saying that the thing you're covering right now, it's not as important as this other huge world issue. Where obviously I wouldn't put that standard on you just because you have 760K subs, You shouldn't have an obligation to cover these things just because you're a big YouTuber.
Well, so the reason why I went after Charlie is because, I feel like he uploads daily. He live streams a lot. It wouldn't be too hard to just make one upload about it. Whereas if it's I'm not going to reach out to Lex Friedman or Andrew Huberman, who are already doing important work. Like you said, Israel versus Palestine. I don't know. I think it is true. People could be reaching out to me, hey, why aren't you covering this? But it's I feel like what I'm working on with Spencer and the survivors is important enough to put my focus into, whereas with someone like Charlie, I feel like he could be doing more with each upload, you know?
I just don't think, I think you're trying to force him in a sense, or try to like use this moral superiority, the guilt, like to guilt trip him into covering it at this point and trying to manipulate him into doing it, which I think just makes you look bad in the whole thing and kind of trivializes the thing you're trying to call out, and having a whole bunch of people like me just roll their eyes at the situation because of the way you're covering it, which is just doing you a disservice.
At least I have your eyes, though.
I mean, don't you think you've made like bigger documentaries in like hour-long videos before, and they get way more attention, way more views? Don't you think the strategy would it would serve better if you just made a fully fleshed out documentary explaining it? And we've seen like Moist Critical, he reacts to videos all the time on stream. I guarantee if you would make a big hour to 2 hour long documentary, sent it to fucking Moist Critical, he would cover it way easy. Like there's much a higher chance that he would cover it on stream and give more eyes to it, as opposed to the approach you're taking now, and we're trying to manipulate him and guilt trip him into covering it instead. You know what I mean? Like you're MamaMax, you're covering this small case with this small cult leader, but there's much bigger things in the world right now that are bigger issues. So someone could say the same thing to you.
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm trying to make the conversation not just about the cult leader, but about global child exploitation, which I think is probably one of the greatest issues in our world.
Yeah.
You
okay.
saw all the human trafficking.
Do you really not see my point? I feel like
right?
it's like very obvious. Just because Charlie
I do see
is a big YouTuber, there shouldn't be an expectation that he should be able to cover like child fucking like rape or child sex trafficking or human trafficking. You know, that's ridiculous to try to push that onto him, and you're doing it very in a manipulative way. That's that's the point I'm making.
I think we can all do better.
Dude, good one.
And
Hold on. So
and again, I'm not asking him to cover it.
We could all do better. Like, are you trolling me right now?
It's true.
Are you not?
But
do you hear what I'm saying?
I do hear what you're
dodging.
saying. I do hear what you're saying. I am just saying. I mean, it's an objective truth. We can all do better to help fix these global issues.
Yeah, but you're dodging and like deflecting what I'm saying though. Like that's not actually a response. Like we could all do better. Let's all hold hands. Like.
Yeah, we can do better is pretty. It's pretty vague because it's not. Shut up. Because it's pretty like you can't really apply it to any specific situation. Because someone want to ask you as well, if that's all right. How?
No, Colton, you gotta shut up. You gotta shut up. You gotta shut up. Your time's done. MamaMax, respond.
Spencer, what do you think?
Finish my point.
Spencer, what do you think?
Who cares about Spencer? You're the guy of the fucking platform. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All due respect,
All
but
right.
I don't give a fuck about this person's opinion. You're the one of 700.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry about that, Spencer. What do y'all think about lyrics?
Yeah, no, I was about to fucking tell him off, because you're not gonna sit here and fucking minimize all the shit that we fucking went through, knowing that there's hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of fucking victims. That ain't fucking it.
And it is a reflection of a greater problem in our civilization. There are cult leaders everywhere. There are child predators everywhere. Sorry, lyrics. Took the L on this one.
So after that confrontation on stream, Lorex and MamaMax had yet another live stream confrontation, and this time Lorex came more prepared, having pre-written points ready to confront MamaMax on. Here is how that conversation went.
I wanted to ask, because after our call, you did something I found was pretty egregious, where you started to like direct your chat to tell them to go reach out to the mom and to the brother to find out information about Camden. Is that's true, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. So I think that sets a horrible fucking standard, because like to my knowledge, you don't have any proof that they're even involved, right? Like the mom didn't help out Camden with his potential abuse to these kids. Or the brother. Like, you can't prove either of that, correct?
Correct.
And I think if you involve them, you're just, even, like, you're involving them, you're getting them harassment, you're directing your whole fucking audience to them, where like you know what's going to happen, like you know the implication that comes there. You're trying to call out this guy for being a pedophile, and you're sending thousands of people to harass them. I think that sets a horrible fucking standard when it's someone that you can't even prove is guilty.
You're talking about Camden.
No, I'm talking about the mother and brother being culpable. You can't prove that they're culpable to blame here. They're just fucking family members to the guy, you know? So why do they have to get shit? It's like, what if your brother did some horrible crimes, and then people start harassing you because of something your brother did? You're justifiably so. You'd be like, what the fuck? I have nothing to do with this, but now I'm getting phone calls. I'm getting my shit blown up. I'm now getting all these emails and spammed calls. And now because of an action my brother did that I had nothing to do with, I'm the one to pay for it.
If I had a family member that was a pedophile and I had people blowing me up about it, would it annoy me? Yes. But is it worth my attention? Yes. And I think it is worth their attention. I think the lives that are at stake are worth, people calling them about it.
So you feel like the ends justify the means?
Yes, I had this conversation with Colton, and I still feel the same way.
So at least you're consistent on that, where even if it happened to you, then you still hold the same standard. But can you at least understand other people's perspective on how if you set that standard for the internet, where you start involving so many other people that aren't even directly involved and they become collateral damage for something that they're not even involved with, you could see how that's a horrible standard to set. And now you're just involving innocent people into a crime that they didn't even commit.
I think it's a standard that should be set if the person they are going after is an actual sexual predator who is active. I'm fine with setting that standard.
Just because they happen to be born in the same family?
If they have contact with the person or know of a way to make them stop doing what they're doing, yes.
Know of a way to stop them to do what they're doing? What do you mean by that? Just because like you're a brother, what do you mean? How are they going to stop him from touching the kids?
Well, let's say we make contact with his mother or brother. They might know information that is pertinent for law enforcement. I don't agree that it's like whatever tactics we use are necessary. I think there are some tactics that should not be used. But I think, and I know you're saying harassing, but I made it clear I do not want my audience harassing them. But if there's a way they can make contact with them and find that anything that is pertinent to the case, I think that is worth doing.
I hear what you're saying, but I guess I just necessarily don't buy it, because in your stream, you acknowledged on how people have doxed you before, correct? And how people, like how that's affected your life. So you're very familiar with how the internet works. And you're very familiar that if you're telling thousands of people on a live stream that, hey, you know what, you should contact these people to get information about this pedophile. And also like you're doxing the mom's name. Didn't you do that?
Saying the full name of an individual is not doxing.
What do you mean?
Do you not know the definition of doxing?
I think it's fair to say if you're uncovering personal information about someone that they don't offer themselves, that's a form of doxing. I mean, you could play semantics about it, but if you fucking like release my full name on live stream right now, that would be a form of doxing. Absolutely.
Full names do not count as PII and do not count as doxing.
Don't you see the problem of releasing someone's full name live on air to thousands of people? Because through a full name, you could find out much other private information about someone. You understand that, right?
According to the law and also YouTube guidelines, releasing full names do not count as doxing.
Sorry, I'm just going to say what I said again. Through a full name, you could find out much other private information about someone. So even if you don't think it's doxing inherently, it's the first step and you're walking up right to the door to doxing someone.
I agree with you, Lyrics. I know that names can lead to addresses and phone numbers.
So why are you playing this game with me? Like you already know this.
It is not against the law.
Do you operate just on what's against the law or behind morals and ethics?
I do operate behind morals and ethics.
So why are you giving me a legal argument? You should give me a moral argument.
I think reaching out to the family members of a sexual predator is worth their phones getting calls, their emails getting emailed. That is my point.
I just think that sets a horrible standard, man.
So in this video where MamaMax accused one of his accusers of being a pedophile, he left some like one-frame QR codes which lead to like very weird snippets of like dialogue, I guess, or some sort of statement. This first one says, "You decided damning me with lies and blasphemy and designed fantasies, deprive me of my privacy, and thrive upon my past receipts. But your falsified philanthropy cannot survive reality. You pedophiles still." This second one is a conversation between what I assume is Max and an alleged victim of Anthony, and it starts out with Max saying, "Hello." She responds, "Hey, how's it going?" Max responds, "It's going well. Thank you so much for taking the time to message me here. I'm very sorry to bother you about this." She responds, "Yeah, of course. It's not a bother. I don't mind." A day later, Max then responds, "Thank you so much. Also, my apologies for not getting back to you sooner. I will be on and off every few days. So I'd like to start by asking, what is your history with Anthony?" She responds, "I was in marching band with Anthony when I was in high school. He was a senior and I was a freshman." Max responds, "Did he make any advances on you?" She responds, "I mean, he was one of those kids that was always naturally flirty. We were really good friends for the year we were in school together. There was never anything that made me feel weird about him necessarily. But after he graduated and went to work in the White House, he started texting me again out of the blue. But I can't remember how we got to that point in the conversation. But he eventually sent me a video of him touching himself. It was definitely random and not something I asked for because I was at my best friend's house at the time, and he sent it to me while we were eating dinner, and I just remember slamming my phone face down on the table and telling her I'd tell her about it when we finished eating. He asked for pictures in return, but I never sent anything. He was a little miffed and tried to talk me into it, but after that, we never spoke again. From what I was able to discern from Facebook, he had a girlfriend at the time." Max responds, "Thank you for telling me this. Were you still a minor at the time?" She responds, "Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school. So I was probably 15. He responds, "I'm so sorry to hear that." He then shows a picture of Anthony in a yearbook and says, "Can you confirm this man, Anthony Field, is the one who sexted you?" She responds, "That would be the one." And then he says, "What else did he do after he sent you that video? How were you feeling?" She responds, "I mean, I was a little weirded out by it because I hadn't really seen a penis yet. My friend and I laughed about it, and I don't think Anthony and I ever talked again after that." Max responds, "I'm really glad y'all could laugh about it. I'm sorry that happened though. I imagine you don't have the video or conversation anymore." Anyways, with that out of the way, let's listen to Lorex argue with MamaMax about this situation.
I noticed in your response to like your old allegation video that you sent out to respond to the 5 X's coming out against you or whatever, or the 4 X's. And at the end, and it seemed like for the most part, it was a good vindication video. Like, it seems like you came out on top. It seems like there wasn't substance to those girls' story. But at the end, though, I got really caught off guard. And you then doxed Magnetar, which was the guy who uploaded the video against you. And you not only doxed him, but then you called him a pedophile too. And then you like self-admitted 2 minutes later that you don't even have enough evidence to prove that he's a pedophile.
Anthony Field, Haley's boyfriend, Magnetar on YouTube, the one who published this video on me.
I did not dox Anthony Field. His full name was always available.
What do you mean available? That's
It was on his Twitter.
It was on his Twitter, and, on his like Magnetar YouTube Twitter account?
No, on his unfiltered political Twitter account.
What's necessarily the context?
And
did you dig that up? Or because
to be clear,
because even if it is,
he did.
Yeah, keep going.
He is the one who doxed me.
He's the one who doxed you.
He did actually dox me to Kiwi Farms.
Okay, and that's a fair critique. If he did that, then I can't defend that at all, and that's a horrible thing that he did. But necessarily, I don't think that's justification for you to dox him back. I mean, right? But I guess that's where you disagree. You don't think you doxed him. So I'm wondering.
They posted a video with my driver's license. I said his full name.
Yeah, while calling him a pedophile.
He is a pedophile.
Okay, then I'm curious.
He is verifiably a pedophile.
Okay, I'm curious because I just talked to Magnetar on my stream just like an hour ago, and he told me that he didn't know what you were talking about at all, and that those screenshots he has no recollection of, and he doesn't know what happened. So I guess I'm just curious. I don't even know what happened. I'm just curious because I haven't seen evidence on both sides.
Okay.
So do you have any evidence proving he's a pedophile? Because you didn't show it in your video.
What do you want? His dick pic?
No. What? I want evidence proving he's a pedophile.
I think his behaviors prove that he is a pedophile.
What is his behavior? That's what I'm asking you.
I mean, Spencer talked on stream a little bit about what she saw. We all went to the same high school, but I'll let her speak about that if she wants to. But from what the person he sent his dick pic to when she was 15 said, I mean, she verified Anthony Field sent her a dick pic when she was like 14 or 15.
How did she verify?
It's in the video.
Well, I mean, you just like scroll through a whole bunch of DMs. I mean, necessarily, I mean, I'm just like playing devil's advocate. You could fake those DMs, and I'm talking to Magnetar, and he says those DMs are fake. So I'm just like wondering.
Oh, okay. They're fake.
I mean, yeah, that's what he's telling me. I'm just trying to figure out this story.
Isn't that what all my exes said, that everything I presented was fake? I mean, that's, if you want to believe them, you can, but they're real.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like like you're laughing at him saying it's fake, but it's necessarily like the burden of proof is on you to like prove that he is a pedophile, right? If you're going to openly call him a pedophile in your video, like you would have to show evidence.
Do you want me to give you my login info to my Instagram so you can see the DMs yourself? Do you want me to interview her and have her say it with her voice? Do you need a face? Like, what more do you want?
I think even if so let's say absolutely that those DMs weren't fake, and this girl came to you and said that he's a pedophile and that he did this to me. Then do you still feel confident just with that one girl's like testimony to go on your 750K sub channel and just openly say his name, Anthony Field, and then call him a pedophile? To like that video got like 1 million views, right? I mean, I feel like that's an insane thing to do.
He is a pedophile.
Based off
Why is that insane?
Yeah, but I'm asking what it's based off of, and what you're telling me is like one girl's account. And like, I think that's fine for you to believe it behind the scenes. But I think when you have a 750K sub YouTube channel and you're confidently calling someone a pedophile, you gotta have like a higher bar. Don't you think so?
I think we should listen to survivors. I do think we should present evidence when it's taken to court or the police.
You were just accused falsely of being a pedophile yourself, and you can't show empathy to someone else, and you can't fathom that someone could fake some shit? What do you mean?
Anytime someone says, this dude sent me a dick pic when I was underage, you want them to every time have evidence of that?
Max, I'm just trying to explain to you this. You made a whole hour-long video about a whole bunch of girls accusing you of false shit, including pedophilia, being a predator, being an abuser, and then at the end, you ironically then accuse someone else of being a pedophile with one girl's testimony? Like, isn't that painfully ironic?
It is not just her testimony. She had friends who saw it.
Yes,
and told me about it.
I'm glad you brought that up. So you said multiple people who saw it, and then you sourced your sister, but you didn't show anyone else. You said you had multiple people, but then you only showed your sister. It's your sister. I mean, I'm just trying to be fair to, but like, can you understand my perspective where I'm trying to be fair? Like, I was fair to you, and I saw that you vindicated yourself from all these girls falsely accusing you, but now I'm trying to be fair to the other guy when you potentially could be falsely accusing him, when you don't have all the facts and you're openly calling him a pedophile. You're potentially doing the same thing that the girls did to you.
Do you not think he could be lying to you or manipulating you?
That very well could be the reality. But I'm not going off of someone's word. That's the difference. That's the difference here. You're going off of someone's word. I'm not. I'm saying, hey, let's look at evidence before we call someone a fucking pedophile and dox his name and where he works on my fucking huge platform. That's not what I'm doing. That's what you're doing.
All I wanted to do was share the information that someone sent to me, was that he sent a dick pic to a minor.
Okay,
that is when you
have a platform, you can't just innocently share that he's a fucking pedophile. Like, you have a higher bar of responsibility. You've got to understand that. Because you're telling 1 million people that Anthony Field is a fucking pedophile. and you have one testimony to back it up. Yes, but your one piece of evidence is one girl saying so. And I'm trying to explain to you how it's fucking ironic for you to make a video. I am
simply sharing
You're
that
making a
to
video.
show
You're
why
making a
this
video.
person-
You're making a video defending yourself from false accusations of people falsely accusing you, and then you can't have the same empathy towards someone else.
Not to someone who is a pedophile. No.
Okay.
Lorex, can I ask one thing?
Let's just take a back step here, Max. Do you understand my perspective? Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Lyrics, I understand where you're coming from. You think that you're saying I'm doing the same thing that my exes were doing. Like just showing like, a screenshot or something and saying, okay, yeah, this person's a predator, right?
Yes.
That is your argument.
Yes. Yeah. And
yes, I understand that.
And do you understand how that same thing could be applied to your case, where you just got off the back of defending yourself from false allegations, and then it seems like you're doing the same thing to someone else? Like, I'm sure the girls probably thought they were justified, or Magnetar thought he was justified in accusing you, just how this apparently 15, 16-year-old girl felt justified in accusing Magnetar.
So you don't think it's relevant to show that the person who made this video has a girl telling me he sent her a dick pic when she was 14 and he was 18 or 19 and also working in the White House?
The reason I think it's relevant, the reason I don't think it's relevant to bring up is because if it's real, then I think it's very relevant to bring up. Like, I think you should absolutely air that out if you have concrete evidence. 100%. But where we disagree is that you don't have 100% evidence and that you just have the testimony of the girl. And I think that's unfair to use your 750K sub platform and to and say on a 1 million view video that this guy is a pedophile with just one girl's testimony. And I think it's very ironic considering that the girls just did that to you.
After this discussion between Lorex and MamaMax, Andrew, aka Magnetar, addressed this himself on Twitter when he says, in August 2022, as a way to deflect accusations against him from former friends and girlfriends, Max retaliated against me by labeling me a pedophile. He said I was a predator with multiple victims, based on nothing but anonymous, unverified messages from an alleged victim and testimony from her own sister. My life turned upside down. His accusation against me was viewed nearly 1 million times, and led to thousands of people to flood my accounts, both YouTube and personal. They sent death threats. They sent photos of them outside my office building. They shared my home address. They spammed my friends and coworkers. They texted and called me. Friends, coworkers, and even fans got spammed. Some creators I admired stayed silent, and others cut ties. People I collaborated with stopped talking with me. Viewers canceled memberships and left notes of how disappointed they were in me. Suicide was at one point a serious thought. Eventually, it died down, but the fear and anxiety and the fucking anger was still there. In 2023, to try and reset my brain and improve my mental health, I took 2 months of medical leave from my job. It helped a little, and I feel like the girls and I were able to largely move on from everything that happened in 2022/2023. And then last weekend, Max made the claims again. I was sick to my stomach and shaking all night because I was terrified we would be in for another horrible wave of attacks. Funny enough, in this same stream he made these claims, he was also absolutely obliterated by his audience and other content creators for a laundry list of things he has been fucking up for years. The extent of his issues are still being dug through, but falsifying things in his content, lying, and generally being untrustworthy and unhinged are some ways we can now verifiably describe him. Didn't plan to rant, but gotta say thanks to everyone who had my back, and the girls too. And thank you to the dozens of creators and others who are doing work to finally hold Max Strychler accountable. So, after all of this stuff with Andrew being labeled a pedophile by MamaMax with very, very little and weak evidence, it has caused people to question a bunch of things about MamaMax, including the validity of the allegations against Camden Gerard Davis himself. And the skepticism is only grown by the fact that Max has yet to fully explain the story of Camden Gerard Davis, despite this awareness campaign starting all the way back in late October of last year, to the point where even some of Max's good YouTuber friends are starting to speak out against him, like some ordinary gamers who tweeted out, I had a call with MamaMax regarding regarding his recent campaign known as GODCULT that I'm not too fond of. Wanted to get to understanding this situation, but after 2 hours of a call with him, I'm thoroughly disappointed with how he handled this investigation. A serious situation has been reduced to a joke, and I'm incredibly angry. I will say this has been the worst YouTube investigation I've seen on this platform, and it should have never been handled in this manner. I'll be working on a video regarding this. And Max probably saw this tweet from his friend Mudahar, as before Muda could upload his video explaining his issues with MamaMax's investigation, MamaMax uploaded this really weird apology video that's kind of an apology but kind of not really, titled "I place accountability in my own hands." Here is some of that video.
I just completed a 30-minute video called Silencing All Survivors that addresses pretty much everything. It addresses criticisms. It addresses my approach. It includes apologies. It includes a call to action on Camden. A little bit of information about everything, but I showed it to some trusted friends and the survivors. Some people loved it. Some people had a few criticisms, and then some people hated it and told me not to upload it. I feel like I'm being pulled in every which way, and no matter how hard I try, I cannot make everyone happy. I'm trying to prioritize the survivors over myself. Where do I put the general public in that priority list? I feel like I'm in an impossible position where I just can't seem to do the right thing. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I can't make all of you happy. I'm sorry to Charlie for dragging him into a case that is not necessarily his fight. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to my audience who don't even know what the heck is going on. I'm uploading shorts, I'm doing live streams, I'm doing weird ass videos. Just trying to find the remaining survivors of Camden Gerard Davis. That has always been the goal for this awareness campaign. And while it's worked in some respect, it's also caused a lot of issues. I don't want to cause issues. I want to resolve these issues. I'm trying to communicate with my peers. I'm trying to listen to dissenting voices, and every single person is telling me something different, and I don't know what to do. And that's why I've been asking for help. People say, just wait for law enforcement to do something. But we've waited 7 years and they haven't done anything. So we decided to just go public with it and put eyes on him. And people wanted evidence, so we've been inviting people to our little server where we have the evidence. But then people don't want to listen to the survivors when they're in there and just look at the evidence and conclude it's nothing. And people are making all these public attacks, not platforming any of us, not wanting to talk to the survivors themselves. And when people do talk to the survivors, they're getting attacked just because they're transgender. And I know if I could have just started with making everything clear from the beginning, maybe this could have all been avoided. And I take accountability for that. And it feels like when we reach out for help, people just want to use that opportunity to attack us, to hate on me. It's hard. This is really hard. Let's just start from the beginning. I met Spencer. She told me what happened to her. I told her I was busy with other projects, but if you need me to hand this to someone else, I will. She said, no, I want you. While I was there listening to her, that's when I realized this is going to evolve into something much more. Originally, I just wanted to do a podcast where we platform survivors and they tell their story. But you can't just tell your story anymore. Now you need concrete evidence. Now you need to go to law enforcement multiple times. Now you need to consult with lawyers. Like, we can't just listen to survivors when they're screaming for help. And that's why I've been taking all of these creative, experimental approaches to try to bolster their voice. Not only can they be heard, but they can be seen and they can be addressed. So, instead of addressing all the random rumors that people make up and responding to criticism, talking about the wrongdoings of other influencers, I'm just going to take accountability for my actions and correct them starting now. Let's just start fresh. We need to keep finding the remaining survivors. If you don't want to help, you don't have to. But if you do, please reach out to me. We will invite you to our server.
So yeah, despite MamaMax hugging Spencer at the end, nobody ended up liking this video, everybody was critical of it, and MamaMax continued to bleed subscribers. But it got even worse when Mudahar uploaded his video, alongside Nicholas Diorio, who also uploaded a video in conjunction with Mudahar. And in Nick's video, we learned quite a bit about Max through an interview Nick was able to have with him for this video. And what we learn is shocking, to say the least.
How much of what you do is kayfabe and how much of it is legitimately like live? This is the investigation, here it is.
So the investigations themselves are real, but obviously the films have fictional elements. Like, it's a film, like I am presenting it as if it were to be real, but I didn't think people would take it as that. Like,
but wait, you hunt files. You don't think that people are going to think your videos are real?
So that's the thing. So I want everyone, when you watch my video, to assume everything is fake, except like when I show a people's face and what they're doing. There's multiple things against Anthony Field. For me, I feel comfortable saying he is a pedophile. I don't feel he could do anything to me legally for saying that, because if he were to, the girl who made the testimony would come forward and testify against
So she
him.
has his dick pic and has timestamps of when it was sent. That's real, that exists?
He does not have his dick pic.
So what does she have that she could come forward with?
Just her memory. But
wait, so you don't think that you could legally be held liable for the statements you're making if he were to sue you because you have someone who can come forward and tell you it happened?
Well, I am just documenting what she said.
No, you are calling him a pedophile.
Correct. And to be able to successfully sue me for defamation, he would have to prove that I am lying, which I am not, because the girl is real and she sent me those DMs.
So yeah, not only are his videos like half fake, half real, but he confirmed that he has no concrete evidence of Anthony being a pedophile, despite calling him one in a video that garnered almost 1 million views. If you want to learn more about this story, I recommend you go watch Nick's video or Mudahar's video. I haven't seen Muda's yet, but Nick's was extremely well made and I can't recommend it enough. But before you go watch that, be sure to subscribe to this channel with notifications on, as my next video on this topic will be showing all of the Twitter reactions to everything I presented in this video. If you have any thoughts now on the situation, be sure to share them in the comment section below. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.